Today's walk starts at the East Bank car park in Sleaford, Lincolnshire. Heading west along the River Slea, it passes just north of the railway station and south of the local castle site, before heading out of the town westward across Sleaford Fen and Sock Drain. Passing across the A15 road, the route continues alongside the river and then diverts across the fields north of the Boiling Wells farm to arrive in the village of South Rauceby. Taking the road north towards North Rauceby, the route turns at the village school to head eastward on Drove Lane and then curves northward on the bridle path across the A17 road before picking up the field path eastwards towards Leasingham. Exiting New Lane, the route crosses and then passes out of Leasingham to the north, taking the field path through Old Hall Farm and then northeastward towards Ruskington. Crossing Ruskington, the route picks up the Spires and Steeples Trail southeastward out of the town and crosses the A153 at Haverholme Bridge, taking the road past the Priory. After a short distance on the road, the route returns to the fields, heading towards but not quite into the village of Ewerby. Turning westward again, the route then crosses back onto the fields for a long stretch to pass through the village of Evedon. Passing alongside the manor, church and through Manor Farm, the route rejoins the Spires and Steeple Trail southwestward and after crossing the A17 for a second time, heads along the River Slea once more. Finally, after walking past the watermill, the route arrives back at its starting point. Today we are down by the river of Slea in the town of Sleaford, back in Lincolnshire. There's a lot of ducks down there and the first ducklings I've seen this year. Hello little duckling. And we're going to do a loop sort of the west, north and east of here through some of the villages. So here we go. Duck footage there for my wife. Hopefully, if I got the calculations right, the route finishes up going back along this river. It's very picturesque. Makes a change to it, starting off with a more urban environment into its small town, urban. Imagine that was once a factory, possibly a grain warehouse or something. Lincolnshire being a very agricultural county, that's not a big shocker. Well, I am just behind Electric Avenue, or Electric Station Avenue to give it its full name. And this should be the path back along the River Slea again, heading out of the town. Reasonably well signposted, although I did start walking down the neighbouring road for a few moments, but then realised no. It's actually behind this road and just north of the river. You know, considering I was in the heart of the city less than 5 minutes ago, town, Sleaford goes rural very quickly. This area is known as the Sleaford Fens, or as I'm renaming it, Duckling City. Oh, hello Mrs. Duck, what a fine brood you have. And while there are some new estates there to the south, I think these wetlands don't look like they're going to get built on anytime soon, which is a good thing. Both for homeowners who don't want to sink into the mire, but also in terms of being a route for us hikers. So not pictured just there, I just scrabbled up a very steep bank to get across the little road I've crossed. Only to notice the path actually diverted slightly to the north and then south again, which meant I wouldn't have gone up the bank. But it's one of those cases where it looked like that was the route, but turns out it wasn't. Still here down in the Fens, or Sleaford Fens anyway, going past what's called, actually Quarrington Fen, according to the map. So we'll be going on here for a couple of fields, and as you can see, it is still very, very lovely. We're a little more out of the open now, not so much tree cover as there was on the first bit of the path.
Nice little footbridge, but very clear route altogether. I do believe it's the line of that far field. We will then be heading northwards from here. I'm going to have to go up and cross the A17 at one point, which I hope, because today is a Sunday, bank holiday Sunday, it's not going to be too busy, but we shall see. It certainly won't be a patch on the A15, I suspect, that I was doing in the previous video. Down here as well, you can see there is also quite a good crop of rape out, and some sort of grassy stuff here. I've not even tried to venture to guess what that crop is, other than that it's a cereal. Now I've had to come on a bit of a diversion, as the route I'd actually plotted out didn't actually appear to go where it should. It was straight across the field, but the farmer had not marked out the route across it, so I wasn't about to go walking across their crop. So taking this extra mile and a half loop here to visit South Rauceby, which, to be honest, was part of my original planned route. Thankfully it doesn't take me too far out of my way, and there is always an escape clause towards the end where I can cut out some of my walk if it just gets a bit too far or too hot or too muddy underfoot. But I've got to say, this approach to the village, very pretty. We have bluebells, we have trees, we have plenty of birds, and we have a rather sticky path that's making me cut my speed up and down. Can't get a very good grip on it, so walking about 2/3 of my normal pace at the moment, as every step I do that's more positive, my foot slips backwards. So, diversion by south and then the edge of North Rauceby completed, and now heading back towards the route I originally planned. It's one of those issues this time of year when you've got young crops in the field and farmers haven't quite gotten around to clearing the route. You're kind of left with the decision of, do you tromp on across a good acre or two of prime growing field, or do you take a diversion? I tend to take a diversion because I really do not like damaging crops. There are the odd occasions where there is no other choice, because there isn't a diversion other than sort of 5 or 6 miles around, and you do have to forge your own path as carefully as possible. Today though, haven't had to do that because I was able to come up through South Rauceby, which is a very pretty village, and then just the edge of North Rauceby, which I've not seen a lot of, so I can't say much about it, but I imagine it's similarly quite nice. Now we've had a little bit of rain in the last week, perhaps a little more than I was hoping for, but all the same, well, there are some big puddles around here. I've got to say, this path, despite being muddy, is actually a lot firmer than the one I walked into the village on. I mean, it's marked on the map as track rather than footpath, so you should expect it to be slightly more hard standing because vehicles come down here, but I wouldn't be driving my car down here, I can tell you. It would not like this one bit. Tractors clearly do come down here. Anyway, so we'll be picking this up for the next half a mile or so, and then we shall turn north and then head across the A17 and pick up the field path, I hope, to Leasingham at that point. Still heading along the bridle path now, A15 there in the distance, but been quite a pleasant walk so far on this bit. Hoping that when we cross the A17 it won't be so bad. We shall see, of course. Aha! As luck would have it, the A17 is being resurfaced at the moment, which means traffic is down to 40 miles an hour rather than 60. That makes it a heck of a lot easier to cross. So here we are heading up the path. I can just see the footpath marker ahead that marks the entrance to the path to Leasingham. Oh, and some rabbits. I've seen some hares along this route. Obviously they were a long way off and they moved too quickly to film or photograph. But that's the first rabbits I've seen today. Certainly turning into a good collection of wildlife this trip. Spotting them anyway. And despite being alongside a major road, and as you can probably hear the traffic in the distance, still plenty of foliage here to enjoy. Now we are here on the last day of April 2023. So looking good. Oh, yes. Don't you go fly tipping around here. Oh, what a convenient bin. I think this was once a slip road, and maybe once again it's going to be another slip road, but right now I think it's just mainly for works vehicles. And for those of us, of course, looking for the footpath. And there she blows over this slightly uneven terrain. Right. Oh, look at that. The farmer has at least marked the course across the field here. This is going to be a heck of a lot easier, and I can actually already see Leasingham Church ahead of us. So, here we go, across some fields. Nothing like coming across some furniture in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we're still about at least half a mile outside Leasingham on this track. There is today, surprisingly, a lot more sun than was forecast. I looked at the weather forecast yesterday morning around here, and it said, oh, cloudy, just cloudy all day, maybe up to 17 degrees at the height. So, yeah, a bit muggy given how much rain we've had. But it turns out the sun keeps breaking through here, making it quite pleasant, and also making me wish I'd brought my sunglasses, actually. But anyway, yes, we've crossed most of the fields now at Leasingham. We're now onto what's called the new track on the map, I believe. Or new lane, brackets, track, to be accurate. Which will lead us up to the A15. Yes, the A15 again. Can't go anywhere in Lincolnshire without accidentally crossing the A15 at some point. Thankfully today I'm not walking up it any stretch, but just popping across it into Leasingham village. Or crossing the village and heading northwards again. So, now I'm walking into the village of Leasingham, a village I've visited quite a lot, so we had relatives here. Nice village, really. To be honest, this is one of those places where there isn't really a shortcut round the village, so I'm just going to walk straight through the middle of it and out the far side. So that's what I'm doing. Well, you can see it's quite charming. Some nice big old houses. Decent church, excellent pub. I can't say enough about the Duke. It's a good place. I have spent many hours there as well. As you can see, it's just a quintessential medium-sized Lincolnshire village. Well, there's the church just appearing through the sunshine. Although I'm not going to actually go that way. Well, that was Leasingham. And now we are back across the fields, heading to Ruskington, and which will, of course, be a change of map for me, because we're going off the edge of the sheet in about half a mile. Luckily, this is only two different maps I have to use for today, rather than 3, as has been on the occasion. And thankfully the route is fairly obvious. Well, so far it's fairly obvious. If I come back on the next clip and say I'm totally lost, you know how wrong I was in this bit. Just going to skirt through this farm and then back across the fields. Next to a very large electricity pylon. We've just come across a very rough field, although there was a very visible path, which really helped. And now some more field work time. That's Ruskington, we can just see in the distance. It's only 2 or 3 fields away, and as far as I can see, it's just a route I can almost make out all the way there. So that's excellent news. Don't ask me what crop this is. But no better, I'd say there's just left to go fallow this field. Certainly a magnificent series of power pylons over there, and smaller power pylons and to our side. But at least the route is very clear. There's a dog walker ahead. Always means I must be going the right direction, because they're probably a local and they know where they're going, which is more than I do, really. So I'll just keep trailing them for a while. I wasn't going to film again this soon, but yeah, that's some serious ridges here. Now I'd like to guess potatoes. Do that to potatoes, and I'm very glad the farmer has made a path across the middle of here, because I would not fancy having to walk across the whole acre of this landscape. It's down enough as it is just on the path without actually going off across the field and through his beautiful road, or her beautiful road, of course. So, just heading out of Ruskington now, along what is termed the Steeples and Spires route. I see a lot of steeples, seen the odd spire or two. I'm sure there's an awful lot of cathedrals on this route unless I go an awful long way. I think what we've got first of all coming up is a little footbridge across the railway. Let's go back then. I did hear the alarms on the gates near here a couple of minutes ago, so we may be lucky to see a train. We may not. I suspect not. It is a Sunday after all. Oh, there's the station. But no, nothing here. And here we go on to what is listed as a restricted byway. Well, it's still the Spires and Shires, whatever it's called, route, Spires and Steeples Trail. But it's taking us back out into the country and away from Ruskington, which, well, a pleasant enough place. It's a bit of a big town these days, not really a village. So, not sorry to see the back of it. But then, you know, less than half a mile from it, out into this glorious countryside. Another stream, although I'm not spotting any ducklings in this one. So, letting the side down, river. So yes, we're on this trail for a while now. Heading to the next village, we are going to slowly be curving around the eastern side of Sleaford for the next hour or so, before then picking up the route back along the River Slea, back into town again, and back to my car park, and more importantly, my car. And I'll be crossing another busy road, I can see. That's the A17 again. So we'll be going across that at some point soon, I imagine. So we are still on the Shires and Spires and Towers and Turrets, or whatever it's called, route. Although now it is a road. A quiet country road, thankfully. Which is running down to, and I'm going to mispronounce this, Ewerby. Ewerby? Sorry locals, please chip in and tell me what it's called. Where we are going to be honest, only just going to skirt the village, and then we are going to pick up a path heading due west, because yes, we are approaching our most easterly point of the route and beginning to curve back on ourselves. We're, you know, about the 12-mile mark or thereabouts now. So, you know, feet are tired, legs are tired. I've eaten my tray rations for as much as I could stomach. Mouth's a bit dry after all this walking, so dry flapjack is not the best. Yeah, catching in my throat as well. I did actually pack a nice pasty, but I left it at home, so I didn't get to enjoy that. Never mind, the power of oats, I guess. Miserable, dull oats. So I could have continued on the road there towards the village, but I then went, it's boring for a mile and a half just to walk on the road, when it turns out there is a footpath across the fields that runs more or less parallel. And it's got a very well marked trail. Even if it's a bit more exposed, as you can hear by the wind. Well, after one field that went on forever, and a short hike along some roads, it's some more fields, hooray! Oh, we're around about mile 14 at this point, and yeah, the high humidity today is beginning to tell on me quite a bit. It's quite fatiguing. I am looking forward to a sit down, but that's still at least 3 miles away. So, soldier on, obviously. What else I can do, really? But yeah, more fields, some rape fields in the distance, and what is mostly a straight path, with possibly a slight deviation south shortly. Well, after a seemingly endless bit of fields, we're just coming into the village of Evedon, or Evedon. Again, no idea how the locals pronounce it. From which, once we pass the far side, we pick up another path, which then will go across the A17, at which point we will be on the outskirts of Sleaford once again. As you can see, not a field, but a perfectly serviceable little road. And to be honest, after fields, I'm ready for a break, I've got to say. My feet certainly prefer walking on the fields, but my legs prefer walking on the roads. And so right now it's time for my legs to bear the brunt for a while and let my feet take a bit of a hammering. It is still mind-numbingly humid today, and it's probably hit the peak of 17 now, which doesn't sound that hot, but when you're walking around fields that were rained on yesterday quite heavily, it's enough for the air to be quite saturated, and you cannot get cool by sweating. Oh look, local eggs, some massive ones there. So just been through the cut through that goes through Manor Farm on the far side of Evedon, or Evedon. So through a field with some fantastic sheep. I'd love to know what variety they are, and that one's got lots of horns, so I'll be giving it a very wide berth. But the footpath actually goes across the field. And then, joy of joys, reconnects with the A17. I'm kind of hoping, looking at the map, I go under it rather than over it, but we shall see. Well, fair to say, the signage across or under the A17 was absolutely shit. There's no better word for it. I ended up having to take a detour and clamber across a couple of fences. It looks like from this side you do go straight under, but on the far side it's so overgrown and unkept, badly kept, that you can't do that. So, you know what that is, don't you regular viewers? It's a letter to the council, because they frankly need to up their game. I am now, however, on, thankfully, the last bit of the route. There's still a couple of miles of this, but this is now the spires and steeples route again. Sorry, it's very windy, so I'm having to speak up a lot, but that's how you go. It's keeping me cool, because I'm certainly quite warm. Here we go, under the railway. I think this marked officially the entrance to Llama, I was going to say that. Not Llama. Sleaford proper. Not so many ducklings on this side. I wonder if the ducklings have all gone for their lunch. Very late lunch by this point, it's nearly 2 o'clock. Oh, but this is not a bad route to finish on. I mean, it's a bit industrial gothic with the fencing here on the left, but it's still nice to see all the lambs and the sheep in the field there. And the River Slea running alongside us. Good news, I know my car is parked just in front of the River Slea, so if I keep following this, I will find my car again. Failing that, I'm going to use the sat nav to find it. This is, of course, the point where I say, if you've enjoyed this, please leave me a like or a comment. If you really enjoyed it, share it with your friends. The more people get to watch these, the more encouraged I get to go out and do walks around strange arcane places like Lincolnshire. And of course, don't forget to subscribe if you want to make sure you get every single one of Walking with Llama's Paws. I am, of course, now quite upbeat and chipper, even though I've just checked the mileometer. It's telling me I'm at 17.5 miles at this point, of a route that was supposed to be about 15 miles. That early diversion, it put a lot on the route, unfortunately. But thankfully, just beyond this next bit is my car, I'm fairly sure. Well, no more than half a mile anyway. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least try and sneak a quick shot down here of this old Watergate. It says Watermill on the map. I'm sure it's actually Watermill, but sluice gate it certainly is. Oh, and more importantly, I've just spotted across there a collection of geese. Hello lads. You look like you had the best bet this afternoon by just staying here. And there we have it, back to where we started from, down here by the River Slea. Wow, that was nearly 18 miles, so almost 3 miles longer than I planned it, so a bit shattered. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go off and find a long drink now. See you for the next video.